Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League, America's East. We are into week number 5 out on the Watopia Figure 8 course for a team time trial. We're going to jump in with the women and then the men immediately after that. Dave, it's good to see you. We're here for round number 5, and there were some pretty heated competitions as usual in EMEA. I haven't had a chance to watch APAC actually back. It's been a really, really long day for myself, but I'm assuming I saw a couple of moments and it looked like Enza and Bro were on a domination train, or at least they were on the screen. It looked like they were on a domination train this morning, but obviously we're going to have Team Riot, WLC, and ATP, I think, at the top end of the Americas East. Riot at the first half of this season, in season 3 of 2022, they weren't off to their dominating start. They're back at the top here, Dave. Will there be any more chinks in the armor is one of the questions, I think, coming into the race out here on Watopia Figure 8, or have they kind of gotten their usual act together? I have a feeling WLC, though, and ATP are not going to give up a fight easily, from what it seems.
Nothing comes easy, does it, here in the ZRL? Hey, everybody, good to see you. I know it was a huge weekend out there, so it's good to be back in our safe space with ZRL racing here on Tuesdays. What was surprising me earlier today as we jumped around, it was nice to be with EMEA Africa today for the men's racing, and the women's racing as well, to tell you the truth, was how close it was. These teams have gotten so good at this, Nathan, that the margins are getting smaller and smaller. We had 3 teams within 7 seconds of each other after 30. It's almost 30K of racing out here, and with 2 really significant pinch points, the 2 climbs that you do, the hilly KOM, whether you're doing it forward or reverse, there's no easy way to get up there. And especially in the format of team time trial racing, you just don't get 11% grade. Well, it's not an average of 11%, but it does pitch up to 11%. And that's a high hurdle for everyone to get over. It's been a very challenging day for the teams, but I must say, Nathan, everyone has really stepped up. Team time trialing, again, has leveled up here, obviously, as we have on the backs of what teams do on WTRL, always, always, always look for those teams to be amongst the better teams. It's almost like you get that bump, I'd say, Nathan. If you've done your WTRL work in the ZRL, that's usually good for 1 or 2 spots higher than you normally get or than you would get, let's say, otherwise.
Yeah, the reality of doing TTTs, I think, on every Thursday as well, Dave, is what and the experience that comes into play, on a weekly basis. I think that does tend to shine a lot of times, and so
I,
having. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, I had a teacher in high school that used to always say, repetition is the mother of learning. And if you think about that statement for a second, it's so true, right? Just you build habits, you learn, and then you start to see in this instance, this is what we do. We don't need to communicate it or wonder the 3 different options. You now know when this happens, you do this. It makes things so much easier on the race. You can just focus on making watts. It's almost like you can just tune out a little bit because you instinctively know what you're going to do when things happen. And now you can just focus on driving it.
You want to talk about some behavioral psychology now that you get that going about
Yeah,
human beings
right.
only focus on problems and not things that are already solved. And the things that are solved are put into the back of our mind, and you get into that rote, what have you
Right.
already
Exactly.
figured out and what is already taken care of itself. And when you become a fluid organism that is a team, that everybody knows what they're doing from moment to moment, and then you're able to discover new problems. And how do we discover new problems and new problems that you didn't even know were problems
Exactly.
until you're getting the fastest time you possibly can? Some people, the problem is I don't even know how to connect to the platform, or I'm dropping or whatever, and then it gets all the way to the point
Exactly.
that, it gets all the way to well, I mean, if
Well,
you're
then when
talking
your
about a
biggest problem
newer
is, do I use the
Zwifter,
Tron bike? Right,
but yeah, so
right.
you get to a new Zwifter, right, who's just being introduced. What's this and what's that and what's that? And it's all of these new problems. And then someone who has a ton of experience gets into this, figuring out, well, how close can I draft? Do I use this first person perspective? Do I roll through on a super tuck? Don't I? I mean, so many questions to be answered to how you get a solid TTT, right, Dave?
This course would be the perfect platform to teach on for all of the things that you're talking about. A mentor in Zwift, in life, in everything can really be that accelerator to help answer all of those questions that you have, sometimes even before you have them, to explain exactly what you're talking about and then just moving into the finer points. And yeah, you really nailed it, though. There's something that they talk about called natural state and natural state racing. And that's like, think about when you're a child, right? Or that weird, not weird, but that age between, say, 3 and 5, where a kid thinks kind of they can do anything. Right. And you have to have someone there to sort of put some guardrails up for you. And then you learn
Literally,
you can't do
literally
it.
put
Right. It's
guardrails.
literal guardrails. Right. But
I had
then
all kinds
eventually
of those in this house over here.
I can only imagine with kids around. Right. But then, Nathan, the problem is all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, maybe I can't do anything. I've got people telling me all the time, no, no, don't do this, don't do that. And so that's where your human spirit, what's inside you, will come through. And you can see that in someone when they're very young. So that natural state, though, is believing that you can. That's really the first thing here is you have to in your mind think that you can. And with a team, it even goes to another level. And that's what's so beautiful about when a team time trial goes well, is that you're really clicking on many different levels, and it's so much more than just having good legs that day for yourself. It's when riders have bad moments, figuring out how to motivate, how to get them to slip in. And this course, again, we start with 6 riders on these teams. Your 4th rider is where your time is taken. Most of the teams today that we saw, but we watch mostly the A's, to be fair, earlier today. Most of the teams were finishing with 5 riders, I would say, or a higher percent, let's say 4.7 riders average per team, which would be pretty high.
Yeah, a lot of riders. We have really amazing participation levels for sure. Even coming into the quieter times of the year, it's amazing how popular the Zwift Racing League is. Well, we were talking about solving problems. Let's see if Cy Bradley can solve a few of them for us, and then we'll jump right down into the ladies' 8K splits. But Cy put in a little video for us. Just a heads up, there are no power-ups available. The decision was made after this video highlight was made, just as a heads up to anybody. But Cy will take us through the figure 8 course and tell you about the crucial points. Cy Bradley.
Swifters, welcome to downtown Watopia for the second team time trial so far this season. The first one in London was all about power. This one is all about power and technical ability, knowing the course and getting your riders around this technical course as quickly as possible. 3 power-ups today. We've got the aero, the draft and the feather. We're on the figure of 8 course. The first technical part of this stage is here at the foot of the hilly KOM reverse. It pitches up quite steeply as we head towards those iconic statues and head right. It then rolls until we descend the other side back into Watopia. Then we've got the first passing of the S's. Again, rolling technical section. The challenge is to keep all 6 riders together at this stage. And then we come back here in the opposite direction to the hilly KOM forward. Ascend this first part together. Get yourselves over the top. And then it's all about ramping that speed up and driving it home. We're then going to take the final passing of the S's, driving it home through these rollers as hard as we can for the final few minutes of this ride before we take that right-hand turn and this flat road towards the finish line, back here and down my town, Watopia. Dig deep, stay focused, and ride on.
Big thanks to Cy. Go ahead and find Cy over on YouTube. Cy Bradley, he's got an awesome YouTube channel for a longer form of each one of the Zwift Racing League recons, and also some other. I think he also does a couple of streams of some of his personal racing on his YouTube as well. So great addition to the broadcast. We do see on the right-hand side of the screen, it is going to be the women's race for the A division for America's East with the Fiona on the front, Christina Grossman right on her wheel. It is going to be Claire Cameron, Megan Rathwell, Anna Russell, and Smith there as well. Natalie,
Yeah.
thank you. Natalie Smith on the back. I was going to throw a guess at it, and I knew it was Natalie, but didn't want to risk it. They are going to wait up for her. They were dropping her just a moment ago, as now she pushes a solid 5 watts per kilogram, and it looks like she is going to get back on terms.
Good call. We talked about that in our previous broadcast about, when you wait and when you don't wait. And I'd say at this point with a strong rider like Smith, I would wait for her. She's also out of New Zealand, just like Anna Russell on this squad. Claire Cameron just finished Redlands. Nathan, good for her. That's a classic American stage race. It's a 5-day. We just had 2 of the big 3 of the in real life American stage races happen, Redlands and Gila, and then they'll be racing in Arkansas.
Talk about back to back. Does it feel like back to back to back this year? I don't know if maybe it's just always been like that, but I'm like, whoa, they're just throwing them at us.
It hasn't always been like that. So you're absolutely right. And it's almost like America's Grand Tour. It's the closest you have with road racing to you have 10 days of racing in a 12-day period. So that's pretty close. Not obviously Grand Tour is more than double that, but it's close we have in America. Anyways, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Nathan. It's a ton of racing. Plus you have to get from Redlands, which is about an hour outside, a little more than an hour outside of Los Angeles, but there's no flight from Redlands to Silver City, New Mexico. You're going to have to do probably 6 hours of driving. So that's Jonathan Jacob, isn't it? Over on the men's side of things for next team that one of the super teams. No doubt about it. So the men are out on course now as well. This is Anna Russell that we're in with. High racing IQ, great morale person. I think Anna Russell, everybody wants to be her friend. She really is. And then she just vanished on me. She ghosted, but she brought the team back. That's how good she is. And so Anna Russell, they're going to hit the top of it. Let me see. It's reverse KOM first, isn't it? A hilly KOM.
Yep. Reverse Watopia, hilly KOM. That is what they're going after first. As you see Rathwell taking over at the front here. And now backing on off. I wonder if they're going to just rotate through his speed. Or if they're going to hold on to their positions. It looks like they are going to make little jumps. A lot of times you see the questions coming through about, is it about jumping or not jumping? It looks like Rathwell's going to back off into a super tuck. They're all super tucking. Will they pedal through the flats? Going to be my next question. A little bit of pedaling from Grossman. Looks like they're just going to chill out and use the reservation of energy as best as they possibly can. Grossman now to the front, and they're all going to just make sure nobody ends up dropped off in the situation. They're playing it what I would call the safe game here, which isn't bad. It's not bad. They may be sacrificing a little bit of speed, but they are gaining a lot of energy back with no pedaling all the way through.
They're playing the long game, if you will. I love that. So this team's going to be really hard to beat today. All of these women are absolute legends. We've noticed a lot of teams with rosters changing and shuffling. This team doesn't change much, do they, Nathan? Any team obviously is going to have the ebbs and the flows, and as far as the results that they get. But Riot has remained on the top. They've been challenged this season, maybe more than ever. The depth and ability that we've got here in Season 3 of 21-22 has been absolutely amazing. But Irish woman, Fiona Gallagher, she is a cornerstone here. We watched P.O. Auto, men's team. They have been at the very high end for so long. Same thing for these women, to tell you the truth. And so we're in with Fiona right now. Boy, these women really from top to bottom cover the entire planet with this team, going from Ireland to New Zealand with New York City, Queens, New York, where Christina Grossman calls home. She's been one of the best finishers. The bona fides on this team, Nathan, such a high level. So nice to see Riot is back and in full effect. This, again, Wahoo Lacole America's WA1 have been really challenging and continue to challenge. We're in race 5 of a 6-race season. There are double finale races that we have, but right now Riot is really looking to not give an inch out here, and they might just steal a foot. Here we go. Back to you, Nathan. Riot cruising 30K of racing today in Watopia for our team's time trial.
77 points on the top, 2 points ahead of Wahoo Lacole Americas. It looks like they are going to be distancing themselves right now as they head over toward the Essies for their first time. Laura Perry here trying to lead out WLC, it looks like, for the Wahoo Lacole team. They are in second place currently right now on the leaderboard. ATP Racing Stingers will be the next ones to start up and get out on course, and they have completed a solid 10.2 kilometers. We're waiting for the splits to come on in. We'll get them up on screen as soon as we possibly can. ATP Racing Stingers at 71 points. On the Rivet Cinderellas with 69 points, 2 points behind. So those are the battles here, really. It's going to be first and second between Riot and WLC. ATP Stingers here and On the Rivet Cinderellas are going to be in a battle for third place. And then there's kind of a no woman's land here with Cryogen Gallopin sitting at 66 points. Sisu Du a little ways behind. Fear Nothing. And it's going to be Sisu Royal City at 55 points. A battle for 7th place right now. And maybe 6th if Sisu Royal City can have a really solid ride. It looks like Core Sports no shows on the season. But that is the current top 8 and the order in which they will be starting today.
Team we've got on screen right now is a roll call of monsters: Britt Mason, Danielle Ravnikar, Laura Perry, Natasha Elliott, Sonia Jobidon, and Tamara Roberts. This team, again, Tamara was part of that Texas crew, Nathan, that I was lucky enough to have a chance to sit down and have some tacos with, fittingly, right? Tacos, what could do you better than that? Tacos in Texas and Austin, for sure. And she's got a lot of supportive friends in that community, which is the secret sauce to this whole thing, for sure. This team vibes very, very well. Laura Perry up there in Canada has wrapped up a strong cross-country skiing season, and most of these athletes, it's not fully just esports racing that they do. So this time of year, Nathan, it seems like, as we were mentioning with Claire Cameron earlier, as riders bounce back, we had a bunch of professional racers in EMEA who are back after a weekend of racing jumping in. Is this a great way to get some midweek intensity out here? So as we take a look now, Britt Mason is the rider. She's an American on this Wahoo Lacole team, and she's a fan of frogs. She loves frogs. If you take a look
Britt
at
Mason? Loves frogs?
Yep.
Okay.
Enough to put a frog face on her Zwift Power profile, at least. I assume that means I don't like frogs enough to do that, and I like frogs.
She doesn't like frogs, and that's why it's there. I mean, I don't know.
Or is that the Kappa? It looks like the Kappa's face
is it actually
Maybe
the
Kappa?
Is it the Kappa? That would be awesome.
God.
If it was the Kappa.
These are good. Oh, Nathan, heads up. A little split here. What's going on? Just a momentary lapse of reason there? Yeah,
I think,
they're
yeah,
right
I
back.
think, I think just for a moment there was just a little bit of not a
It looks
struggle
like a
or
rider going.
anything.
So classic moment, Nathan. I think a rider was going back to go get them at the same time that they were coming. See what I mean? See what happens? Even a really strong team like WLC, the little hiccups, how you respond, they're right back. So that's a really good. If that's your worst moment, you had a great day.
100%. I think the moment there through the Essies, you can get these in these rollers. The speed can pick up a ton from the rider on the front, giving a little bit of a
Like
punch, and you can be
whiplash effect.
unaware. Yeah, and as you go backwards, like right here, if it's your time to take over the caboose of the train here, and you can find yourself, look, do you see the
This is
speed,
the
the
replay.
figuring out who's you're on? No, this is live,
Oh,
and
it's almost like
who's
replay of what we were talking about.
whose wheel is on whose wheel, whose responsibility is it to close the gap. That can get confusing at times, sometimes too. And
Okay,
so
we've
when
identified a little issue here for WLC. Just happened to kind of because they're under our microscope here. This has happened twice now in 2K, Nathan.
yeah, it's a great
Two
point.
riders.
It's a
So
great
whatever they're
point.
doing, whatever their process of how they're coming off the front, or there's something. It's almost like, hey, the car isn't broken; it still runs. But hey, you hear that sound? I'd go see the mechanic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times the there's two different there's two different things that can happen here from what I'm seeing, right? If I were a DS and I were trying to analyze what might be happening here, one of them is the power source and how it's being put into the game by either the individual or just the way in which the power source interacts with the game makes it very difficult to temper the speed of the avatar. So it ends up with like, I have to push really hard in order to get a certain amount of watts to close this down. And
Yes.
I then overshoot over and over again because I can't get a
Oh, boy.
consistency out of this trainer. Or somebody's way that they tend to produce power, they're not very good or they're not experienced at making sure there's just a consistent effort. And it's always like, when someone first starts using power, what I hear almost across the board as a coach for years, I've heard, it's all over the place. It's like 300
right.
and then it's 200. Well, that might be because you're not used to using your legs as small motor skills. You're used to them being large motor, right? And so learning how to use your legs with precision and how to control an avatar can be very difficult. So a lot of times you end up with these situations with overshooting. And then on top of that, you add it to a video game where there's a huge amount of depth perception, and whether or not you can get that depth perception right to sit on a wheel can be a very challenging thing, even at the highest level. And this past WTRL TTT, I rode with OMG. Oh my God, they killed Kenny the last 2 weeks. We won the TTT, but I'm still screaming at those guys in my head at times. Why are you doing this? What are you doing this? And actually, we're talking about analyzing where we still are making huge mistakes, exactly like what you're seeing from WLC. Because you
there's
push
so
somebody
much
off a
time.
wheel. You push someone off a wheel. Sorry, one last thing. I don't think people recognize how much it messes with the other people and their avatars if they're really trying to do a good job of this by overlapping another avatar. It will push someone off a wheel over and over and over again and cause all kinds of mayhem. So getting that straight line is really, really crucial.
And it's so hard to do. I mean, so really
It is.
super good points, right? And so that's why if it was easy to do, everyone would be doing it. And Nathan, we've only seen a few like PO Auto today. So you can see that they're close now. I want to give a shout out to, I have a lot of, my heart goes out to Sonia Jobadon. The Canadian worked so hard to stay in this group here. And that takes a lot of courage and a lot of fight. Now, this is going to be Danielle Ravnikar that we're with. So what was going on there was they have a rider that's on the squad that this is such a high level, and just trying to nurse her along was really disrupting their flow. Now that these five are back just going together, unfortunately, at this point now they had to say goodbye, but ultimately learning along the way, getting stronger every race. If we don't win, we learn. is a great motto. And now they can start trying to pick up speed. We watched it happen today with Socks for Watts, the Unicorns. Remember that, Nathan? How they picked off three or four teams after really a tough start. So Wahoo Lacole is going to try to fight back. We spent a lot of time with them, and I think it's great because you've really got to watch there. Sort of like in a road race, in a 6-hour race, you never really see what the first couple of hours look like. And sometimes some really important things can happen. It's like a chess match where those pieces, the way they move, set up the final or the finale out here. And this is going to be now a real, I would say, renaissance for this team out on course. 30K of racing. This is ATP that we're with. And one of the really strong riders in ZRL is Rachel Lieberman out of Seattle. She's been a leader on every team that she rides for. And as we pick them up, Nathan, they have 5 ladies together here. And let me see who's with her today. As ATP, again, has Allie B, Katie Candeloro, Meredith Morin, and Katrina Weiss, or Weiss, I think, more likely. I'm sorry, Katrina. Definitely let me know. Katrina Weiss, though, I'm going to go with, is the last rider that we've got on this team. So, Nathan, I have a feeling this is a top 3 ride at worst. We should be able to break down the splits out here, I hope, at some point.
Yeah, they're just coming through. And,
just coming through.
ATP, I think, are actually getting the better, perhaps, of Wahoo Lacole. They were 1 second slower at the last check, but I think they've made up a little bit of time as WLC were trying to figure a few things out through the Essies there. And it does look to me like they've brought back 4 seconds on WLC. We'll see as they come through this next checkpoint in just a moment. On the Rivet Cinderellas, they're only 6 seconds behind. Crouch and Gallopin, 12:22 at that 8 kilometer mark. Sisu Du there, 12:34, 13:41, and a 13:59. This is really close racing, though, in the top 5 right now, 22 down to 12:04. It's not huge time gaps, actually.
The real race, Nathan, I am stoked. We are locked and loaded as Wahoo Lacole and ATP. That's where the race, I think Riot's on one of those days. They are back, baby. And, as we said, Riot has been challenged like never before here this season, but I think that they have rallied their troops and are back together. Strong feeling that they might be untouchable today. Look at how close it is and watch this one here. It's not one team. It's not 2 teams. It's not 3 teams. I think it's going to be 4 because Gallopin is going to be extremely, as a matter of fact, Nathan, the bike race is going to be absolutely incredible. ATP Racing Stingers, Wahoo Lacole on the Rivet Cinderellas. Clearly, CrowdGen will be there. And I'm wondering what even Sisu Do or Royal City or Fear Nothing might do. But certainly, we're going to have second place might be decided by less than a second today. I don't expect that they bring Riot back, however, but I've been proven wrong. Come on, ladies, you can do it again. Prove me wrong for the millionth and 10 times.
22:54, pretty big gap opening up, it looks like, as Riot have really figured things out, but it looks like here. Now, it does look like WLC are starting to ramp things up again as they're up to 58 seconds again on the gap. It is a 1 minute time gap between the two, but 2 seconds, as you can see. So it's on the edge here between ATP Racing. So ATP Racing, they were behind by 1 second, and now at the 16K mark, they bring it back by 3 seconds. So now they're ahead by 2 seconds at 23:27.
But Wahoo Lacole, I think, fixed the issue. They were just sort of they had a couple splits open up. And they did not have a good run there between 8 and 16K, did they? So I think they might be back on it.
I think you're right there. I do think there is something they've kind of figured out, and they've maybe got they got the time checks coming in as well, going, a little bit of trouble. So now Perry here heading to the front with 5.6 watts per kilogram, saying, come and chase me if you want, ATP. They can also see in the rider list nearby exactly what the time gaps are. Lieberman now coming right on by their teammate here at 4.5. 45 kilometers per hour if you compare the speed, 43. But in this section, it tends to be a little bit slower through this section that they're heading through right now. So those speed differentiations, you can't put too much on them because Lieberman was just coming off of a downhill, and now it's at 44 kilometers per hour. These ones are a little bit closer in comparison. And this will also give you an idea because of the reality of a pure power versus watts per kilogram, right? Lieberman here at a 4.5 was pulling almost 44 kilometers per hour, whereas Elliott on the front, about the same. Now she's about the same wattage at about the same watts per kilogram. But if we do get riders that are different in weight, you're going to start seeing raw wattage reward a little bit more on those flats. Always something to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah, totally. I'm talking about you, Christina Grossman, right? I mean, those kind of riders, this is where they take mega pulls coming through. And right on cue, there she is. So Grossman, now this is going to be Riot that we're looking at, the fastest time out here today. So no one is untouchable out here. Things can, fourth rider, things can always go sideways or pear-shaped on you, but I would not anticipate that. Anna Russell has been awesome for this team, helping keep the motivation high. They're always on the sharp end of things. There's no doubt about it. So the ladies are down to, the real distance today is going to be 29.7K out there. The second climb as they hit Watopia Hilly KOM forward now, the steepest pitch that I think we see in a team time trial anywhere, ZRL, WTRL. This is another good example of a team that's done their work over all of these riders over in Thursday's WTRL races, which we'll be looking forward to this week. Fired up. Another team that does it extremely well. We were talking about Pio Auto, who've had an incredible arc in the ZRLs. Here's another team that doesn't have the same arc because they started as a community squad, then absolutely went straight to the top of the table, moved into Premier, and they've become one of the best teams in the shortest amount of time. They've become one of the all-time great squads in esports history. And Nathan, they're to the middle part of the course. They've got 6 riders together. This could be one of the fastest times that we've ever seen out on this course. I'll have to dig in on that one because, as you can see now, Riot is on a very steep grade. But Nathan's going to bring us over. Thanks, man. Over to the men's side of things. I'm surprised that we don't see all. So the bike that you see with the disc wheels here, that's actually going to be slipperier, faster, more aerodynamic than even the Tron bike. These guys are just about pure speed. So even though there's these really tough climbs, they're not that long. I think these guys think they're going to be able to just bustle the climbs and are looking forward to eking out that little extra speed they'll get with these unbelievably slippery bikes. Do you think am I getting it right there with the bike choice? They even tried to, instead of going Tron, they're trying to outsmart that, it seems.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I mean, on a course like this today, I would definitely be going with, at the speeds that these guys are carrying, I'm really all about the fastest of the fastest on the flats. As much speed as you can possibly get on the downhill, especially of that reverse on the other side of the Watopia climbs. That speed and the carrying through the speed is just so essential. I just think you gain so much from that. But that's my take from my experience in my power profile and the profiles of the riders that I'm riding with, right? And so where I think my teams will shine is just throwing down as many watts as we possibly can for as much speed as we can possibly produce. Whereas some riders, they might have some reasons for throwing down a Tron, for getting over the top of a climb as quickly as they possibly can. And they're trying to spread things out a little bit more across the entirety of the course. So I do think that, when it's not just the raw wattage, pure speed situations for the flats and the downhills, I think the Tron bike does play out a little bit better for you.
Yeah, we have seen riders. So obviously, slipperiest is going to be fastest, not the best for the climbing parts. And other riders have been defensive about it. Well, that doesn't quite sound right. They haven't been defensive about it, but they've used a bike.
Some people get pretty.
They do get defensive, actually.
Yeah, there's some identity in the bike. I think there's a little bit of like, I think I'm right about the bike I chose.
No, totally. But in this case, I'm meaning literally as far as they're using a bike with they're the most concerned that they might have trouble getting dropped, possibly. They use a bike that would help them to not be dropped by making that play rather than worrying about what's the flat-out fastest bike for the day. They're just trying to maybe get a little bit of a safety net for themselves.
Look, this is a sensitive topic, Dave, okay? My identity is your identity wrapped up in the in what bike you chose for Zwift. Yes, 100%. My whiteboard is important to me. Maybe not quite as important as Anna's. We'll see.
You would be, well, you know what's funny? There's a lot of passion around this. And as we've seen with anything, right, Nathan? Passion will definitely drive a lot of your, how much of the mental time you spend on something and how into it you get. And I tell you, wow, they look great. Going back here, talk about passion and precision. This team is phenomenal. What a ride from Riot today. Every now and then, you just really get it right. And I'd have to say that Riot is not, so they're just shark brain out here today. They're all absolutely on points. The mission is clear. Send a message in the final team time trial of the regular season of ZRL. This is America's East, and this team now down to, let's call it 5K and a little change of racing remaining. But at this point now, it's either downhill or flat. They'll keep the accelerator down on the floorboard, no doubt about it. But and we'll start looking at those checks coming through. We are starting our fastest teams. The first teams out on course will be the seasoned leaders based on points out there. We saw that Riot only had a couple point lead on Wahoo Lacole, so ATP Racing is actually doing Riot a favor, Nathan, if they beat Wahoo Lacole, putting a little more breathing room before those two squads going into race 6 next week. If they hold on, which that won't be easy.
A little bit interested in the situation here for America's East with the women. For the league results so far, if we go by race, it wasn't, so they've won everything except for the first race. They really struggled in, right?
That was the all-in where we didn't have the bonus, no FTS, no FAL.
Yeah, it was just first across the line at the end of the day scratch race, right?
Yeah, and I guess they gambled and it didn't pay off that day, right? It was a high risk, high stakes poker racing out there that day. Easy to see how that could happen to even the best teams.
Yeah, I was just wondering how they went for the first team time trial, and it looks like it was just fine. Looking back on it,
they won.
So
right?
Yeah. Was it by a lot is going to be my question, or was it pretty close? It was, from what I'm seeing here, they won by about 14 seconds or so from the last one up against Wahoo Lacole. But they've really, today I think it's going to be even more than that. So obviously they've been doing
Look at how perfect they are. I mean, so this is classic. So Anna Russell is a colleague of ours. She actually does the broadcast for APAC. She takes this seriously. She has a lot of fun as well. But this team has worked and worked and worked. It's great that they have laughs along the way, but they just don't miss a step out here. Christina Grossman going back to the front. As a matter of fact, I think P.O. Auto, the men's team, would look at this and say, respect. These ladies are doing exactly what they were doing out here as far as precision. Beautiful, beautiful job. This certainly would be a clinic in team time trialing put on by Riot today.
Had a 35:08 at 24K.
Did they really?
Yeah. So at the America's West, EMEA West, but they went
exactly
up
the
faster than Riot, though. Interesting enough. So Riot have been consistent, I think, throughout the entirety of this, and are actually maybe having better splits than we saw from
till
EMEA.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that should mean that Riot would have a little more in the tank, to tell you
exactly.
the truth.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep,
so
exactly, because they went through with 11:54 at the 10 seconds faster from.
We're racing against a ghost. Yeah, they did this 8 hours ago or something. Well, 6 hours ago. So that's one of the cool things about ZRL and WTRL is that we can race around the globe at times that are convenient for our teams and riders. But you do get to compare yourself against the best. And I love that. Course conditions never change in Zwift on Watopia. The wind doesn't change. It doesn't start hailing. The rain is only virtual. It doesn't actually affect your speed. This is Natasha Elliott of Wahoo Lacole. Her work done for the team today. That 24K split time coming in, and it is 20 seconds for ATP. I expected to see Wahoo Lacole coming back, maybe even moving into second, so ATP having a great day as well. they're pretty solidly in second there because not a lot. You don't expect to see a ton change in the last 6K after that final check. It's downhill, more or less, Nathan. So picking up 20 seconds is a huge, huge ask for a team that's already got you 20 seconds in the hole.
They let go of a rider, too. ATP are down to 4 at this point.
So's Wahoo. So's Wahoo. So.
Wahoo got 5.
Oh, no.
They got 5 left.
I'm sorry. I thought I saw one of their riders coming off. My bad.
No.
My bad. Good call. Thank you.
Lieberman now at the front, and I think they're just gaining time at this point. Lieberman's absolutely flying. Mason went to the front, though, just a second ago, pulling 5 watts per kilogram, as you can see, but trying to hold it down for WLC, but it looks like ATP, they're going to get this one. Huge ride. And this goes to show you why TTT practice is so incredibly important, because these teams most definitely, ATP, have been showing up week in and week out at the highest level in the WTRL TTT time trial and on Thursdays, and it is paying off dividends right now for this team.
You reap what you sow, as they say. So they've got a few K left. I love how instead of answering me or telling me I'm wrong, you just showed me the picture like my mom would, right? Like, don't need to say anything. You can just look for yourself. There you go. Okay, back to correct announcing facts. Yes. So I think I might have. I saw a rider alone, so I thought maybe she had been dropped. I think that's my excuse. This is no fault.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw that too.
Okay.
And I was like, no, that's not what's happening, but it's okay. Just leave it alone.
That's my excuse. Noah Balch has been real. You race against him a lot, don't you, Noah?
Yeah, he's the bring me back king. He's the guy that just goes to the front and brings every attack that goes off the front back into the fold. But it's only me. I think he's marked me at this point. I'm not letting Nathan go anywhere. You know what?
Yeah, no. He's got your number, as they say, right? And that happens in real life racing, Nathan, where you sort of find your adversaries or nemesis, and you always seem to end up like there's always the guy you hate, right? You just think, oh, I can't stand, I can smell him, or I can't stand having him near me. He always crashes or he takes corners weird. And that guy always is lurking around you. You're like, there's 120 of us. Why are you always here? You know, but it just works out that way. God works in strange ways, right? Or mysterious ways. And I tell you what, it's really, really classic. As you look now, Velocio, Nate, I haven't even had a chance to mention them. Let's jump in with the guys now as they're deep into this. We get stuck in with some of the best men's. Velocio's got a 6-second advantage on next. Oh, man, this must have been an absolute slugfest. Look at them today. They are precision. So there's only boy, Nathan, I know it's hard to put you on the spot. I say there's 20 teams in ZRL, men and women combined, that can do this. Precision formation riding, and we've seen 2 of them, Riot and Next, and Velocio makes 3 of what I call about 20 teams that can do this good.
Yeah, I'm wondering what I want to see, because we have the splits from PO Auto this afternoon.
Oh boy!
Getting a comparison between them might be interesting. 31:28 at the 24K mark. So
wasn't 74K per hour the fastest that we saw? Well, not right through here because it levels out, but that's yeah. This should be very comparable. Let's go back to what you were just saying with PO Auto.
Yeah,
we might have
Auto
2
31:28. So I mean, that's pretty
even quicker. Yeah.
Now I'm wondering from Velocio here what they're able to pull off, because they were at a 20:53. They were the fastest time at the last at that 16K marker. They should be bringing their time in here in just a moment. We'll see if they can bring something through here, because PO Auto were a 20:45 at the 16K marker. So Velocio are within striking distance, but it does look like they're starting to peter out just a little bit here at the back end. You do see them kind of slowing down, looking for some recovery still, rather than rolling through with some speed. Frank now from Velocio now making his way to the front, as you can see, up pumping it up 6.5-ish. But that's what you need on the front consistently, 6 to 7 all day long in order to match PO Auto. And we'll see if they're able to bring that some of that time back. I think, though, from what I'm seeing from Velocio here, this might be a winning ride right now.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine it isn't, but that's how good Next is. I mean, anything is still in play. On the Rivet Blur, 32-12, highly respectable there at 24K. So we're seeing these time checks coming in. We're in it now with Velocio. They have been so much fun to watch in their pursuit of ZRL victories. It's been quite a quest. It really has. And another team that has some tremendous stories. So this is slightly sub-ideal right now. When every second matters, you do like to keep the entire team together. I mean, for any other team, this would be the best moment of the day for their squad. For these guys, they just
31-51 is what they come through with. So obviously a 10-second gap now at this point.
31-28. You said for PO Auto,
Yeah. So not
EMEA
quite,
Africa.
quite. Literally world champion level riders. I mean, that's where
In
PO
that
Auto
neighborhood.
sit, right? But they're right there. I
Yep.
mean, they're right
Yep.
there.
Yeah, but you're right. So, it's certainly noteworthy how good PO Auto is, that's for sure. Looks like we've got OTR and Laura Babineau into the last 800 meters. Less than 1K to go at this point.
Yeah, I definitely want to highlight these riders here. And again, welcome, Laura, to this Babineau to the
Crush
world
it.
of ZRL here and Zwift Racing. She's been posting a lot about it, and it's great to see her addition to this team as of recently. Molly Van Holly now taking over to the front. Bishop's there as well. She's an animal, dude. She does like 3 TTTs a day sometimes. Sarah Bishop here in 367 watts now, as this is a monster team and a great effort coming from the Cinderellas. 36-13 was the last time that they have. They are looking to battle it out. 3 seconds between them and Wahoo Lacole. If they were to beat Wahoo Lacole on the day, that would be a monster ride.
Sure would. Sarah Bishop, the American. Renat Blushki. We mentioned Lauren. I said Laura. I'm sorry, Lauren. I bet you that happens all the time. It would drive me crazy. Lauren Babineau, Canadian superstar. Then you've got Jen Moroz and Crush It, Cassandra Rush, who's got a huge following. So good job to OTR Racing. This is going to be CrowdGen Gallop and Nathan. Let me shout these ladies out. I love this team. Angel Martin, the American, with the other American, Catherine Rush. Pascal Legrand is the Canadian on the team, along with her countrywomen, Diana Bowmans, Judy Ann Park, and Debbie Woods Turner. That makes up the CrowdGen Galloping team. They're down inside the final K here. So bring it on home for the ladies out here. Behind Riot, it's really a scrap. Everybody having a strong ride. And you can see these 10-second gaps in that last bit going to be hard to overcome. But will that be our final placings? I doubt it. We'll usually have one team that has a surge. Maybe it will be on the Rivet Cinderellas or CrowdGen Galloping coming for them now, full tilt.
Moving our way through the rest of this. This is an interesting day, actually, for all these teams from what I'm seeing here, because Sisu Du all the way up in that third place at 36 minutes. I mean, this is quite the battle playing out between a lot of these teams that are ranked a little bit lower on the season. It's kind of anybody's game, and I love this, how the TTT is bringing out new skills and new teams to the top end, because Wahoo Lacole with the struggle there up against some of these teams that are nowhere near them in the points right now when it comes to the rest of the season and modes of racing that we do. Annie Poland and the rest of the CSUD team making the way to the line. Great to see them finishing up.
I got to say, not many teams finished with 6 today. Way to go, Sisu. I Race Like a Girl. That's going to be Amanda Wendorf. You said Annie Poland's name. She's a star. Mackenzie Yates, Robin Hardage, Sarah Donath, Shannon Kaplan on that I Race Like a Girl team. So, you know what? There's 2 Sisu teams, aren't there? Or no? This is
there's a Sisu Racing
RC.
Royal City, so the RCC team that we're looking at
Katie
right now.
Clark. Yep, there you go. I believe JD Frang on that team is Sisu's another one of these teams that has franchised, and sometimes we'll see a hybrid edition of that squad.
Velocio making the way to the line.
Not far to go for them. They're going to need to eke out, just like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone now. It takes everything you've got. They're going to finish with 5. That's impressive. on its own out here. So this is our men's finish, one of our all-time top squads. Velocio is done and dusted. I'm going to be very interested to see if that was enough or not out here today, Nathan.
As we jump in with, it's going to be restart. Also, excuse me, not restart. Then we got Sisu here, and then restart is finishing up as well for the men's side.
Yeah, that men's side, if you look at it, Velocio really brought the A squad. Charles McCarthy, Dan Cassidy, Drew Zaliga, Jan Welford, Jason Frank, Ryan Atkins. We talked a lot about him the other week. What a cool dude. Trevor Robb and Tucker Wetmore. Although they all couldn't have raced because that's more than 6. We start with 6 and take your time off for us. That might be a director that I've got thrown into the mix there. So this is going to be restart that we're looking at, I believe, here. And let's see, 4. Yeah, they are at 4. Sometimes there's a rider lurking just behind the camera, so I'm slightly hesitant to say 4.
I think
it is.
You might be right about that. It is
No one there. All right, thanks. Every now and then, kind of take a look behind. Thank you, super producer Nathan.
33:06 is what we've got right now for them. So a solid minute or so behind the top finishers. I think OTR next and Velocio kind of at the top level here of this America's East. But restart here leading out from 4th. Les Intrepids, VCRT, Amstaffs, they're trying to chase them down all within that 33-minute marker.
How's your Portuguese?
We're not working on that. Nope, we're not working on that.
Okay. All right. Well, there are a
German,
ton of Brazilians. Ton of Brazilians in this race, Nathan. The entire ZTPR team, which is really cool to see. I love that Brazilian flag. And we had a Brazilian Olympian, Flavia Oliveira, was at the Belgian waffle ride. So I got to see that flag a lot. Cinto Gregory, Eduardo Sugai, Julio Manolos, Osmar Vaz, Rogin Melo, Wagner da Silva, and Walter. So one of those riders, I think Walter might be the direct. They might have finished, actually, just a second ago. There's Larry Hughes, the Pizza Boys as well. So we're just getting everybody across the line. But I love seeing an all-Brazilian team, Nathan. That's a first for me. We've seen Brazilian athletes for sure, but all-Brazilian squad now. So that's a big step forward.
Yeah, it seems like Zwift's really starting to take off. I'm seeing more and more of the Brazilian flag actually is as of recently.
And Argentinian, I'd say. More of that Argentinian flag, too. It's for me.
Trail Mesh, Velocio, second Velocio team that's out here. It's going to be Yumeto Rob Wellford. Did I miss one? Zaliga here. Now as they make their final gallop to the line. VCRT chasing them down, or is it the other way around? Did they get passed by the VCR team? As I believe VCRT are perhaps chasing them down, as Trail Mesh are a little bit lower down in the standings right now. Restart one of their boys that fell off. It is going to be the Pizza Boys.
We had we had a 9th place team win, but based on the fact that they unfortunately had to miss some races early in the season, so a whole bunch of points just weren't in their tally. But that's got to be a record, Nathan, for a 9th place team to win an event as well at this part of the season for sure. Looks like Pizza Boys, a lot of love for these guys. This is another team that's made some big steps this season. Good job to Chris Rednauer, Cody Hardley, Larry Hughes, Nate Lawson, and they have an Indian rider that's Naveen John on the squad, and then a Welsh rider, Reese Edwards. So that's your Pizza Boys there. Team F3 now coming in hot. That's Adrian Chin.
Sedan, all here. Only 4 left here, it looks like. Did they start with 4, though, Dave? Looks like, they did. They started with 4.
So did Velocio Trail Mesh today. Yeah. It's never easy starting with 4. clearly you have zero margin for error. So actually,
Lot less
one thing
rest.
it does
You get a lot
do,
less rest too, as well.
yeah, a lot less talking about whether we wait, though.
That's not a concern. Look at this
Not a
kick here
con-
from Joey from Fear. Loving it. This is the last team to finish it up, and she's just going to smash the pedals here to get across the line. Rosalind's there as well as Heather and Mersada. That is the situation currently out on course for these ladies. Let's see if we can jump across to some of the other. Yeah, we jumped really far across. I know.
really far across.
We were all the way over in the desert there for a second.
Yeah.
But there are still some teams, I think, for the C categories out here as we jump in with the llamas.
Hey.
There's they finishing up out here for the ladies.
Drama? Is this the no drama ones or
I'm
a
going to
different
double check
version?
here. I'm going to double check here and make sure that we got this right because I don't want to make any mistakes. But
there's multiple llamas, so you just don't know.
There's
It's
all
like
kinds
penguins.
of llamas. There's llamas everywhere.
It's like there's penguins around their feet shooting around because we had 1 million penguin teams today. We'll have more later in America's West with Olympian, world champion.
It is the no drama llamas.
Hey,
yeah,
right
they're currently in 9th place. They were the 9th to go out on course. So
Women's C's. Let's see who they've got with them today. We've never really had a chance to shout them out as a team. And I'm looking. Are they the C's in
America's East? Yeah, they should.
Yeah. And I apologize. One of the great things, good problems to have, is that with so many teams, America's East Division 1, I'm not seeing them in C for some reason. That's on me. I need to update some software, I think. But
it looks like they're riding under a new STL, though. It looks like is their.
Okay, thank you. And so that, yep, there.
Looks like
you know, it's so funny.
Missouri Cyclist is what their team name that they're riding underneath. But I got
So
Max Jacobs, Laura C, Holly Swinton, Barbara.
See all those llamas? You think
Yeah.
that'd be a clue? They all have llamas next to their names. I didn't even see that. So, Barb Kraus, right? Dawn Forbes, Holly Swinton, Annette Jacobs. So, thank you, Nathan. Good catch. That's why you are in charge, for sure, for one of many reasons. But, anyways, let's take a look at what we've got here. The ATP Racing Hive is trying to hold on in the final part of the season here to a 3-point advantage. And it benefits them greatly to have Velocity right there with Coalition Eclipse, as they'll hope that Coalition Eclipse and Velocity get involved in fighting against each other for second, and maybe they can slip away without having to fight too much harder because it's been a long season out here. And as you mentioned earlier, so many of these riders are also heavily involved in getting back outside for our friends from Quebec. It's just starting to get really nice up there in that part of Canada. So you can imagine getting some vitamin D and sun on your skin, mixing it up with racing on Tuesdays, Thursdays, maybe even Wednesdays, as we've got a quick turnaround to jump back in with the Zwift semifinals now of Zwift knockouts. So excited for that.
Llama's making the way to the line. Dave, as I am, we had some questions actually earlier about the knockouts when the next one is. Tomorrow will be the next one for the knockouts. Now the llamas, as they make their way to the lines, there's going to be some cheering on happening here from Adil saying, go, go, go. I love that. Great to see as they are looking to try and challenge a little bit out here today. Good job to the llamas. There's also some marine otters, it looks like.
Oh, cool.
What? I'm not seeing them.
You know my opinion on otters, right? You've heard how I feel about birds. Well, otters drive all the other animals absolutely crazy.
I didn't know about this. No, I had no idea.
They're considered like the crown prince of nature. Like otters are one of the very few animals that they think have a sense of humor, where they will do things just to mess up other animals' day. That no other, just playing jokes on other animals.
Seriously?
So,
is this
yeah,
actually
otters are bananas. They really are. So They're not as bad as birds. You know, I mean, no doubt birds are out of their minds, but otters are close. This is the marine otters that we've got here.
Yeah, it's going to be J. Morin Brown, B. Brown, and Fox Trottier.
Fox
Taylor,
racing
and
for
Sauter.
otters.
Fox
Right.
is racing for the Otters. They're currently sitting in 12th overall in the series, I believe. Or no, that they took 12th actually in the last TTT. Let me see if I can get the league table here. And the Otters are currently in 11th.
Is marine otter
place.
another way of saying sea otter without saying
Saying
sea otter?
Oh, I
Right.
don't
Yeah,
know.
without saying sea. Right.
Good
Yeah.
question.
There's river otters, definitely. The marine otters must be the ones that you see flipped over on their back. They actually are one of the few, and not even kidding. I was, but well, they are jokesters, but they're one of the only animals that uses tools as well. You'll see them using a rock to pound open shells on their. That's when you see them flipped over on their back, floating, and they crack open clam shells or whatever they find.
What were you watching before? Like, I don't even like.
A lot of animal videos, apparently,
Yeah.
right? Well, I've announced sea otter many years. so I've
National
seen,
Geographic. National Geographic. There's like seriously, Dave has been doing all his animal research specifically for these amazing C category riders because we always have
Right.
the herd
Crazy
and
names.
the penguins and
So,
the llamas. and
Cyclosaurus. Yeah, that's not a real dinosaur, just so if you're wondering. There's no such thing as a Cyclosaurus. That'd be a great team name, though.
Dave's gonna be
You
wrong
can-
about that. Suddenly, someo's gonna be like, "No,
Oh, there is
there's
a
a
Cyclosaurus. Yeah.
of course."
I would not be at all surprised. The Cyclosaurs here, though, or Cyclosaurs? I don't know.
Cyclosaurs.
Yeah, I think it's a dino
Cyclosaurs.
reference. There's a lot of
it's a
dinosaur stuff.
What
out
is
here.
going on, Royal City?
Oh,
RCC are in a big mess here.
Guelph. Just outside of Toronto is where Guelph, the royal city of Canada, is located. That was something we learned a long time ago. This team's been around and they're strong. These are, man, it's like a roller coaster ride. They call it an e-ticket ride at Disneyland. It's wild coming back in. They're at about under 2K to go right now as we pick up. These are our C's. So some awesome bonus coverage here today. Good job, Nathan. Love it. And they've got 5 here. This
Yeah,
is
so
Royal City.
That's
that we're
good
with.
job keeping it together here by them.
Yeah.
It looks like as they make their way to the line. Macalacmlan. It's gonna be Gregorio, Husker, Hofstra, and Hunter. Like in very different setups though across the board when it comes to bikes. Everybody kind of on their own little setup as it looks like here. I don't know if there was any conversation pre or just jump on and go.
You know how every now and then, especially with In-N-Out burgers here in America, they'll say like, "Oh my gosh, they opened up an In-N-Out in Colorado," and people freak out, and the line is 2 hours to get a hamburger. The llamas, so No Drama Llamas, have franchised, so they now have a St. Louis team. That's Barb, who's the lead on that team. So, and they have 3 different clubs now flying the No Drama Llama flag. And that was the St. Louis edition. That all makes sense, right? The St. Louis No Drama Llamas. They're on the Mississippi. Llamas are everywhere at this point.
The llamas
Very
are
adaptive.
everywhere. They're everywhere.
You cannot turn around without seeing a llama these days. So that's part of what's happened with the community. It's just really, really grown. And when you find
There's
good
actually more
organizers,
llamas. There's actually more llamas in the other categories for the women too. Actually, there's llama stay
that's a
as
good
well.
question.
They're out there.
More llamas or otters today? That's tough to say. Probably llamas maybe today. Here,
D
but
from
otters are
Cryogen
strong.
getting us all the way over here. Oh my goodness, how did we end up over here?
Parched desert of Fuego Flats.
As the D category are finishing up, this will be the last that we cover for the East as they make their way to the line. I'll just bring up some splits here real quick, as they do. And this is going to be the situation currently. 3609 from the WTRL Dinos Veloci. It's going to be Herd of Blazing Bobcats. They finished up, but they had a 46.26 at the last check mark. It looks like there's a pretty good gap here. Llama Stay, 47.17. And they made a jump, actually, as they were pretty far back in the start order. If we look at this real quickly, we can get some comparisons real quick. As you can see, Llama Stay were all the way down in
That's their
6th.
WTRL Dinos are perfect through the first 4 races. 20 points per race is the maximum you can get as the top team. So they're 4 for 4. Are they going to do it again? It looks like it's not over. The Blazing Bobcats. Nice alliteration on that one. They're only 17 seconds back. So it's possible, but WTRL looks pretty good to go 5 for 5 today, this season 3 of 21-22. This is going to be the WTRL home team for Thursday's World Tactical Racing League, the Dinos. Tricera. Sorry. What sound I made there. The end of that word. Certainly wasn't English.
There's a lot of WTRLs out here today. Like lots of them. This is the Harpies finishing up right
There's
now.
3 of them in this race.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Yeah. This is right now we're in America's East. America's West is the final division of the day, but this is America's East Division D. It's great to see Nathan highlighting of the 14,000 racers. So many of our friends, the creative folks, the great community is out here in, the B's and the C's. It's not all A's. So nice work out here, ladies in this case, but all of that applies to the men's as well. This is going to be K.A., a.k.a. Harpy.
Yeah, Sally Irish, Mary
Sounds like
Franklin, Kelly Air, Sylvia Clark, all riding for this Harpies team.
K.A., a.k.a. Harpy sounds like a hip-hop artist, doesn't it?
This the Vixens, Vix Tricks, now making their way to the line. Sandy Tyson, it looks like Sue Vander
Good
Iron,
there.
Jesse is here as well.
Doesn't Vander Iron sound very reliable? All right,
Vander
Team
Iron,
F3.
Jesse Vander Biotech. El Home is there as well. So looks like now Team F3 now making their way to the line too in this D category. How are they doing in the standings right now? F3 are currently at 49-18 as they just come across the line. Everybody's going to be finishing up here pretty quickly. Rave Party with Romanska. And this is somebody who works at HQ actually. As she makes her way to the line. Everybody's kind of really separated though across the board here. I wonder if perhaps a little bit of struggle of keeping things together across some of these teams?
Well, that's something when you focus on the A teams, you get used to these teams that are the best in the world at it. And we even see how they can struggle staying together. These are teams that some of these riders, their first ever team time trial, got to really cut them some slack. This is so you're looking at, Michael Jordan makes basketball look super easy. Well, when you get out there and try to do some things yourself, you realize how incredibly hard and skilled they are. Same thing here. So these riders are in that process of getting this figured out. And I'm really, really impressed to see anybody's got the courage to get out here and race. So excellent job. But the learning curve is steep in team time trialing.
Les Watts sisters, it's Jose Martel, C. Defoy, Cindy Vincent's out here, Corinne Guay. I believe they started with 4.
Also notice the bike difference, right? They don't have access to these super slick rides and all the fun decisions that you get to make. I can relate, right? They're going with the best bike they can get with the drops that they've earned.
That's a good point.
You're not
Level
gonna see
21 Zwifter that we're looking at here.
Yeah, so she probably is really excited about getting a Tron bike. But it takes some time. I think she's on a Ventum, though. Yeah. Oh, they're finishing up right now. It so reminds me of where the old headquarters building was there in Long Beach, and you've confirmed for me that for a very good reason. That would be the building right there. It's the same color, too. That orangish color. So, all right, there you go. Finishing up today. The Watt sisters out of Quebec and Seagway. Done and dusted.
WTRL it looks like here with Wee Wally. Who is Wee Wally? I've never met this rider. Unfamiliar. Some of these newer teams coming out of this D category for America's East with some new riders. Cool to see. Level 24 Zwifter. jumping in here. Only racing actually since March 14th. Very cool to see new rider jumping on in. DeFoy that we just saw finish up, also a level 17 Zwifter. You hit the nail on the head there, Dave. A lot of new riders to the world of Zwift racing. Really great to see. As we see some Seaside race like a girl riders here just making their final kick to the line. A little bit of separation, but they're making it. Coalition also with a full squad, it looks like, making their way to the line. This is going to be Impulse at a 51.18, trying to chase down Team Storm, the Hurricanes.
But I saw it Tron bike and said, "Hey, Dave, well, that's not a new rider." And definitely, you don't have to be any level rider. So Zwift, it's really based on how much time you spent Zwifting, and you accrue drops. That's how you can buy and go to the garage and get new equipment. But also, your leveling is based on the time that you ride, how far you've gone. And certainly plenty of folks have ridden on Zwift, Nathan, for a long time before they've jumped into racing. So there's a lot of different ways to end up on the start line out here. That was Coalition that we just saw. This is Bodacious that we've got now, and Jay Chen. They're inside the last K. A minute until this one is paid out here for Bodacious.
Bodacious, not seeing them in, I think they're a little bit off. Wow, you know what really amazes me, Dave? Something I just want to highlight here. The participation amongst these women in this D category is so high, we can't list all the teams in, like,
Good
even
problem
in a top
to
12.
have.
Even in a top 12-ish. Like, we're going all the way out to, like,
We can't format
15
for that.
teams.
Right?
There's, like, 15 teams here,
Well,
at least.
that participation is the secret sauce to this whole community, right? And it's actually these groups, the D women, where
16 teams. I got it wrong. There's 16 teams. Jen to the table here. It looks like now Tribble is here as well. Amanda from Bodacious and Leslie trying to round out the top 4. Great job to the ladies coming from the Bodacious team. I absolutely love this. Showing up on the day.
quick work to it. 46 minutes. That's styling out there. This is Vibe that you've got. Sabrina, Vibe on.
It's Bodacious Bobcats. I was wondering. I knew it was a herd team. They had the herd kit on, and I was wondering about that. So it's the Bodacious Bobcats that we were just watching there.
Like the sister team for the Blazing Bobcats.
Yeah, it must be. It must.
Like the
I love
llamas,
it. I love
bobcats,
it.
otters. If you don't know your the nature around you, you're not going to have fun broadcasting this league because it's mostly animal-based teams. You better know them. If you're not familiar with bobcats, get familiar. That's my heads up. They're all over the shop.
Vibe Energy here, 48 points is what they came in with. We'll see what they can pull off at the end of the ride out here today. They were in 10th place. They might be losing, though, a place here, getting knocked out of that top 10 in just a moment. Oh, suddenly a rider appears. Look at that.
Teammate.
Suddenly
Happy
out of
to see
nowhere. It looks like great job. And what is this? Wait a second. Now, of course,
What is the flag?
they keep throwing. Yeah, they keep throwing these curveballs at us here, and it's going
This
to
is
be
a cool one. I think we just found our first new flag of the day. This happens usually every week. So this is the women's D's. And unfortunately,
I got
help
it.
me out.
I got
Okay,
it.
go.
It's Haiti. It's Haiti. We have a rider out
wow.
of Haiti, woman
Yeah.
rider out of Haiti. Awesome to see. Yolette Alfred. She
Huh.
is, from what I can see, newer to the world of Zwift racing in the last half a year. She did
Okay,
do the
Stoke
women's
is
September.
high.
She did September 28th. So Zwift Racing League last September, she jumped in to the Zwift Racing League and has been racing since then. So she has done a full season starting this 21-22 series, but awesome to see her as a part of this Vibe Energy. I want to know more about Vibe now. Who's Vibe? What are they?
Well, yeah, I will say this, that my heart has really, not mine, the world's heart has gone out to Haiti. They've been hit so hard by natural disasters there that any time. So now I'm glad I know that flag. Certainly, Haitian people really, really deserve support as they try to get back on their feet. for like the fourth time in 2 decades, Nathan. They've been just leveled. So, all right, Yolette, welcome to the world of Zwift. We are stoked to see you out here crushing it today in our time trial. Now, Yolette may or may not be in America, but I like to think that she's over there in Haiti, Zwifting.
Everything I saw, their team vibe is written in French. I had to do a Google Translate. Recently, few girls
So
who wanted
Haiti
to
and
go shopping.
Dominican Republic.
So
that's
this is
that's a good
recently,
indicator. Yeah.
We were a few girls who wanted to go shopping, but circumstances meant that we had to give up the idea of doing ZRL season 3. Then discovery of other girls who looked like, okay, so with the same, I don't know if this translation is right. I don't know if shopping was the right translation, but they have the same philosophy and training, collaboration, and desire to surpass oneself. So that's what
Good
Vibe
job,
is all
Vibe.
about. New team was
Yep.
born, and they're happy to expand the family, it sounds like, too.
So you know what? I think she is in Haiti, actually. Anyways, that's awesome. Good job, Yolette. Rider of the day today. 5K hero. I'm giving it
All
to
right.
Yolette.
All right, we'll give it to Yolette. I'm with you. We'll do Yolette 100%. So there you go.
Way to go,
Dave
buddy.
made the call. Dave made the call. Yolette gets it 100%. 5K to go hero, coming out of Haiti, smashing it for Vibe.
Style
the
for
rest of
days.
the,
She looks awesome. Okay. Who's
last
this?
team across the
Tricera.
line. This is going to be
Yeah.
it. Last team across the line. This is going to be the Triceras as they make their way to the line. Thanks a lot to the D's for entertaining us for the rest
Just
of the
Just a bunch of run-of-the-mill Americans and Canadians. Nothing special to see here flag-wise.
Leanne Gold,
So-
Sonia Walker,
Yeah.
Moto Furcots, and Molly Aztec. You're
Sorry,
gonna get some nasty messages, Dave. Whew.
I think, as an American myself, I think they can take it. I bet you they can. It's exciting when we have a new flag, isn't it? I mean, every time it's been a fun, cool story. So Yolette was awesome to meet. This is why it's great that you cover the B's and C's and D's as well, as it's a huge community, so many special people, and they all aren't in the A's. So good job, Nathan. Really appreciate that. We've got some results to look at, but one thing's always true. You can go to WTRL.racing and find results and information. If you are watching and want to get involved, please do. But Riot was untouchable today. They had the precision and they made the power to win by 47 seconds over ATP Racing Stingers. Sisu Du in third today. This is America's East Division 1A that we're looking at. Fourth going to On the Rivet Cinderella's. Fifth place for Wahoo Lacole, America's WA1. Sixth for Crowds and Gallopin, Sisu Racing Royal City in seventh, and Fear Nothing in eighth in the very, very competitive America's East Women's Division 1. Back to you for the B's, Nathan.
And it looks like in the B category, WTO Dinos B Juicers for the 45-33. Cryogen Murray Blanc 30 seconds behind. 4 seconds. Only 4 seconds behind it was Wahoo Lacole America's West B1, followed up by the Dutch Diesel Cycling Kirkland Signature for fourth. 46 seconds back from the win. Sisu I Race Like a Girl Freya in for fifth. Tight battle between themselves and ATP Honeybees in sixth. Sisu Racing Sula in seventh at 117 back. Herd of Butterflies there in eighth. Lei Watt Sisters, JZQ, Becca Niak. They're only 3 seconds behind the Herd of Butterflies. Coalition Infinity with a 2:36. With the Vixens B Racing, that is your top 10 in the East Div 1Bs for America Women's East.
Let's take a look at the C's now at the top of the table today. Very close in wattage, but the time, about a minute between ATP Racing Hive. Congratulations to the gold standard for our C women. With Velocity always in the mix. Good job, ladies. They'll take silver. Coalition Eclipse in third. The Australian Hump Day Ride ladies, the Cherry Bomb in fourth. AF Eclipse with a Z and an S in fifth. Rave Beast Coast sixth. Fearlessly seventh. Lewatt Sisters. Chasing Chicks are eighth. Lewatt Sisters Clete in ninth. You can hear my brain working, can't you? Revo Doves in 10th, and No Drama Llamas. Nice to see you ladies out there in 11th. And the D's, I think they've actually finished. We should see them. There they are.
The D's across the line. 55 minutes was the fastest time. Nice job to WTRL Dinos Veloci. Herd of Blazing Bobcats are out on course with 27 seconds behind. It looks like it was a little bit of battle between those two teams. Nice job to Herd, able to hold down for second. Lama Stay comes on through for third place, 134 back from the win. Then it's going to be WTRL Dino Stego in for fourth. ATP Racing Bumblebees in fifth. Team F3FD in sixth. WTRL Dinos, the Harpies there in seventh. CCR Racing Guerra Pele in eighth. Coalition Impulse ninth. Just holding off Team Storm Hurricane in 10th. And Vix Tricks, they round out your top 11 in this category. Again, I cannot highlight enough the level of participation. Absolutely amazing to see across the board for these ladies in this D and C categories. Just a big shout out to them for that. It's really, really cool to see.
Way to go. No doubt. This is the men we're going to look at now, and they did it. Velocio wins by 11 seconds. Great job, guys. 38:42, the winning time. Nearly 5 watts per kilo of the power. That's incredible. Next, presented by Insured. 11 seconds back in second. On the Rivet Blur, third. Restart, fourth. Les Intrepides, number 1 in fifth. VCRTM Staffs in sixth. Pizza Boys Racing moving up in seventh today. Team F3A in 8th, Dirt Alert 9th, Velocio Trail Mesh in 10th, and ATP Racing Hydrogen. That's your top 11 in our America's East Division 1A mixed men's. Nathan, you got it. Take the B's.
And in the B category for the men's America's East Div 1, it's going to be Team F3 E-Punks with a 42.22. Draft B come through only 5 seconds behind. Very tight racing with only 9 seconds today. TP Racing Neon. Dirty Ducks B in fourth for 27 seconds back. Coalition Vortex with 57 seconds back, 3.6 watts per kilogram in fifth place. Royal City Cycling MB1 in sixth. On the Rivet, Oost B in seventh. RR Northern Rhinos 108 back from win. Very tight racing across the board, all the way down to eighth with only a minute between. Shows a lot of parity in this group actually. Odyssey Barracuda is in ninth. It's going to be Cryogen Hotacom in 10th, and the ZHQ Rockets B showing up and 250 back. The boys just inside the top 11 there for ZHQ. They must be using the blob over at HQ. I think they need to figure out their pack dynamics. Dave.
You should coach them. I'm a big fan of all those folks. The HQ team are awesome. Herd Mentality also awesome. They're very efficient out there today. 45:37, the winning time here in our Division 1Cs for mixed men. Herd of Trusty Steeds second. RR Nuclear Rhinos in third. It's going to be WTRL SQL in fourth, ATP Racing Freon fifth, Dirty Grinders sixth, ATP Racing Halogen in seventh, Coalition Enigma for eighth, BPCC Apogee in ninth, and then Les Diablos, Les Watt Brothers, JZQ small c. That's your 10th place team. Not an easy one. It doesn't just roll off the tongue, guys. I'm just going to say.
Like
not announcer friendly. Your team name is not Dave friendly, guys.
Herd of Fighting Frisians coming with a 54, 150, 159 there for the Ds. This is America's East Div 1D. The Dirty Watts underrated in for second place, 40 seconds back. Sisu Racing Hanhi for third, 112 back. It's going to be Dirty Watts Undiscovered in fourth. Herd of Dashing Destriers and Coalition Harmony. That is the situation for the D category for America's East Div 1. Well, that's going to be it for our broadcast of America's East, everybody. As we covered across all the categories as best we possibly could. It was great to see some new faces in with the women's categories. Really cool with those C and D categories. I can't highlight enough how awesome it is to see such high level of participation actually coming into the summer months. So great job to you ladies out there. We do have the America's West coming up very shortly. It's going to be with Kate and Dave. More TTT action coming at you for America's Figure 8. If you're waiting for that, don't go anywhere. It will be here in about 45 minutes. As always, everybody having a WTRL.racing for all of the results, and right on.